Preppers often contradict themselves. They will say one thing and then in the very next sentence, in the very next statement, in the very next video, say the polar opposite. Today's video we're going to be discussing some of those contradictions. I'm going to be giving my thoughts and my opinions on some of them, and we're going to be discussing how we as viewers and fellow preppers can take those contradictions with a grain of salt but also learn from them. Hey guys, Time for Preparedness. Welcome back to the channel and thank you guys for joining me today. As I said in the intro, we are talking contradictions. I've been prepping for many years and I have watched my fellow content creators, my fellow preppers flip the script. They will be making a video and be die hard on something and hardcore on it, and this is the way. And then in their very next video, in the very next statement, they want to do the opposite, the polar opposite. So let's get into the first one, right? You don't need electricity to survive. That's a factual statement for 99% of us, right? Yep, I'm breathing fine. I'm not hooked up to any machines. I don't need diabetic medication that stays in the fridge. I do not need electricity to survive. But then in the very next sentence, in the very next video, somebody will say, whoa, wait a minute. How about you buy my power station, right? I got one right here behind my head. I've got a link in the description. Go buy this power station because you need electricity to survive. You need electricity. You need power after SHTF comes. My thoughts, my opinions on this, right? My grandma went 23 plus years without electricity. I've made a video on it and lessons that I learned from her, and sure, we as the family helped her out, right? She didn't have a power, she didn't have a car, she didn't have a cell phone, no internet, right? That is maddening to think. In our current situation, right, you're probably watching this on a phone, maybe a tablet, maybe a big screen TV if you really like my face, but it is crazy for us to think, man, turn it all off, shut it all down, give it all away, right? Because we complain, we call the power company when my power flickers, let alone going 20 plus years without it. She did not need electricity to survive. She found a way to work around it. And there's plenty of people who grew up in her generation that didn't need it. And if the power goes out right now, I bet 99% of you guys are going to be fine. You don't need power to breathe, right? Just like me. You don't need power maybe to keep medication cold. So why are us as preppers selling portable power stations? Why are we selling cell phone chargers? Why are we selling hand cranks and solar panels and all this other crap if you don't need power to survive? Sure is beneficial, ain't it? It sure is nice that I can walk over to a switch and flip it and have lights. It sure is nice that I can go to my fridge and I have food that is both cold and frozen and is going to last for an extended period of time in a box that is plugged up to the wall. I don't think about where my power comes from. I don't think about how much longer is this going to hold out, because thus far, it's been good. Sure, it sends me a bill every month, but thus far, it's been stable. So the contradiction is you don't need it to survive, but you should spend your hard-earned money and buy the power stations, buy the phone chargers, buy the hand cranks. I get it, right? Because I am sponsored through a portable power station. And I've used this and the Ecoflow Delta Pro to run the fridges, to run the freezers in a non-emergency situation. And they're definitely beneficial. They're expensive, but they're definitely beneficial. Now, if the power went off tomorrow, would it suck? Yeah, it definitely would. But would I need it to survive? No. I mean, again, I'm breathing fine on my own, but I lose all the beneficial stuff that comes with it. And we see that every time there's a hurricane, a tornado, some sort of power outage, right? People don't need it to survive, but they're so used to having it that just a little bit of it is super beneficial in the long run. They don't need it to breathe, they don't need it to keep medication cold, but it sure is nice having a cold beer sitting in the fridge. It sure is nice being able to put the leftovers in the freezer, in the fridge, and have them again tomorrow. So the contradiction is that you don't need it to survive, but you definitely should buy my power products that I promote on my channel. I get it. right? It's a way for us to promote ourselves. It's a way for us to make money. It's a way for us to maybe get some free products. None of my shit was free, but I get it, right? You don't need it to survive, but it sure is beneficial if you have it. Having a solar power station when the power goes out means that I have lights, I have TV, I have a freezer. This one will run my freezer for 22 hours, and the Big Brother is like 60 plus hours, 67 hours, I think. So I understand this contradiction. I understand why people say it. Yes, are they kind of being an ass when they say, you don't need power to survive? Yeah, kind of, sort of. Are they still going to promote their products? Absolutely. Contradiction number 2, we're going to talk about you need to stock up on 22 LR ammo because small game is going to be the only game you're going to be able to find during SHTF. The flip side of that is you should not rely on hunting to keep yourself alive during SHTF. I get it, right? I love firearms just as much as the next guy. I have my fair share, or I did at least until they accidentally fell in the lake. So when I had a 22, you damn right I had a ton of ammo for it. Especially watching all these other prepping channels, man, I need to stock up on my ammo because that's what they tell me. They tell me that I need 22 LR ammo to hunt small game because that's what they did during the Great Depression. Because that's what they're doing out in Argentina and Venezuela and Lebanon. All these places going through this hyperinflation scenario. Being able to go out in my front yard, being able to go out in the woods and taking a squirrel, a possum, a raccoon, and bringing it back and throwing it on the table and saying, look family, have food. But then they turn around and they tell you that you shouldn't rely on hunting as your food source during SHTF. So which is it? Do I need a shit ton of 22 LR ammo so I can hunt all the small game in the area? Or should I go vegan because chances are I'm not going to find small game anywhere? Now, we look back at the Great Depression, people did, for the first little while, go out and hunt all the small game. What happened? Well, the gray squirrel population almost went extinct because so many people were out hunting. That one situation, that one scenario proves both of the points. Yes, use your 22 LR ammo to hunt your small game, but yes, at some point in time, the small game will disappear. I agree that you should not rely on hunting, fishing, and trapping during some sort of terrible situation. That's why we stock up on food. That's why we have long-term food storage, but that itself is not the answer either. Because your long-term food storage is going to run out. My ultimate goal is to become a homesteader, or as close to a homesteader as possible. Why? Because homesteading is the ultimate prep. Being able to sustain yourself on your own land is the ultimate prep. You can stock up as much food as you want, rice and beans. You can go out and hunt, fish, and trap for as long as you want to until the game runs out. But the ultimate goal is to become a homesteader. Because if you look at homesteaders here, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, whatever, they've got the resources on their own land. They've got rabbits, chickens, ducks, goats, cows, whatever. That way they can sustain themselves. They have ways to feed said animals without having to run to the store. They've got ways to sustain themselves, whether that be through water resources on their own property, food resources on their own property, power, electricity on their own property, right? They are getting 50+% of their daily needs met from themselves and their little homesteading farm. You see, that's the ultimate goal, because in this contradiction, both parties are correct. 22 LR ammo is a great resource for hitting small game. And small game is a whole lot easier to find than your deers, your bears, your hogs. But on the flip side of that, the game is going to disappear. And it's going to disappear quick. Moving on to contradiction number 3, and this is probably the most political one. This is probably the most hated on one. But here we go. You should stock up your home to be the ultimate bug-in location. You should have food, you should have water, you should have medical preps, you should have firearms, you should have everything prepped up, stocked up to the rafters, mind you, in your home. Flip side of that, You should bug out at the first sign of danger. Take all your stuff, mostly just your bag, and anything that you can carry, and run off to the woods. Because that's where you'll live. That is where you will live out your days. Guys, we do bug out trials on this channel. I've taken my pack on multiple 10-mile hikes, both get home bag, bug out bag, summer load out, winter load out, right? I've done it. I've been out in the woods for multiple days at a time, right? Actually walking and moving with my bag. Sure, it sucks climbing mountains, and sure, it sucks being out in the elements. It's kind of fun, right? Being away. Normally I take one of my guys with me and just, real manly trip out in the woods. It's a good time. We fuss and complain about it a lot, but every time we learn something new. But if something were to happen, am I going to take that bag, strap it on my pack, and then run off to the woods? Absolutely not. We have spent years prepping. We have spent years stocking up and hoarding, as some people call it, to have food, to have water, to have firearms and ammunitions, before they fell in the lake, to have electrical supplies, to have ways to cook, to have medical supplies, right? We have spent years stocking up on this stuff in this home, in this house, because this is where I'm going to stay. This is where I'm going to stand my ground. This is where I'm going to keep my family safe. The only way that we're leaving this house is if the danger is right outside of our door. If there's a big old fire right outside of our door, guess what? We're packing up and we're leaving. And we're going to leave all this stuff. That makes sense. That's a good reason to bug out, right? Fire in your backyard, good reason to bug out. People do it all the time in California. Hurricanes, tornadoes, also good reasons to leave your home, because now it's becoming dangerous. I get it. That's when you bug out. But to bug out into the woods, you're a moron. And if you are preaching bugging out to the woods, you are also a moron, and I can name a couple channels that are preaching that. The woods is not the place. Because the same people that tell you to bug out to the woods have never strapped their pack on and went for a walk. They tell you that you need to go out and run off to the woods. Because that's where you need to survive. That's where you need to go. But if you ask them, hey, when are you going to pack your shit up and go to the woods? Because obviously it's the best place to be. Nah, man, dude, I like it here. I like my home. I like my house. I don't want to live in the woods. Okay, so why are you telling other people to go live in the woods? Right? Bugging out means to go someplace safer. The woods is not someplace safer. The woods gets people killed even now. You want an SHTF scenario to hit, a Great Depression, a hyperinflation, a recession, some sort of situation to hit, and your plan is to go live in the forest like Bambi. Good luck. People bug out every single year. It's called evacuations. Again, California wildfires, Florida hurricanes, Alabama tornadoes. They leave their home because it is no longer safe, and they go someplace safer. They go to grandma's house. They go to another state. They go across county lines, and they rent a hotel. They live with a friend. They live with a coworker. Never once have I seen miles of cars leaving from Florida and all of them going to the national forest to go bug out into the woods. So I'm making this video not as a shot to anybody, but for you guys to understand, take everything you hear with a grain of salt. If you want to go live in the woods, hey, go have fun. Go live in the woods. But if you want to stay at home until an IDLH situation happens, it's probably best. If you want to live without power, awesome. Go flip the breaker and tell the power company you ain't paying again. Great. But instead, if you want to have power stations, have a basic generator, be able to turn your lights on when the power goes out, then that's great too. Whatever works for you. Understand that us as content creators are going to make contradictions. But just because that person changes their mind doesn't mean you as the viewer should be like, oh no, I liked his idea about living at home, but oh, he's a bug out guy now. I need to follow him into the woods. even though he lives 12 states away and I've never met him, I definitely need to follow him into the woods because he knows best. He has a YouTube channel. A lot of preppers talk a big game. A lot of preppers will tell you you don't need to live without power, but they're the first ones to call the power company when their power flickers. A lot of preppers will tell you that you don't need to hunt, fish, and trap when SHT happens, but they have 15,000 rounds of 22 LR waiting for that squirrel that comes in their yard. A lot of preppers will tell you that you need to bug out, but you ask them what situation are they going to bug out for, and they're going to say absolutely nothing. I'm staying at home. We're humans, we're flawed, we're full of contradictions. Do what's best for you. Do what's best for your family. Don't blindly follow some guy just because he has a channel. That's my thoughts, that's my opinions. Let me know down below what other contradictions have you heard in the past. That's all I got for today's video. Hope y'all have a good day. And again, thank you for tuning in. B2 out.